There's this theory that water holds on to memories. It retains memories so that the waters that flow through a river that make their way to the ocean and all the way around the world will remember when it makes its way back to its original starting point. So what does that mean for the water that lives inside of our body? We're made up mostly of water. So what does that mean for the memories that are inside of our body, memories that were inside of our ancestors' body? Were those memories passed on? There's scientific proof that we carry within our DNA, our liquid, our blood, the joys and the traumas that our ancestors experienced. Hi, my name is Sassy Sarah Monroe. I'm a wild witch and I love doing wild witch shit. And today we are going to be having coffee with our ancestors if you feel called. I bring to the table my grandmothers on both sides. My paternal grandmother's name is Yoretta, and I called her Mama. My maternal grandmother's name is Hilda, and I called her Granny. And today we're going to have coffee together. So tell me, first of all, thank you so much for the sweet souls that made comments last week on my first video. It was extremely scary for me to post that first video, and I appreciate your grace and your love. And for the new subscribers, I'm going to try to do a video on my journey to monetization because I want this channel to help me achieve some really big, some really wild and crazy dreams. But if this is your first time joining me, my little moo mug or my moo pour, sure. And then this is the coffee cup for my ancestors. And then this week I chose this mug. This mug is actually very sweet to me. I'll show you the other side too. It's a little bit more painted. This mug means a lot to me. So I am located in the Dayton, Ohio area, and I have helped co-found a place called Temple of the Rebel Goddess. And we're an open spiritual community, and we have many different faith-based gatherings, esoteric gatherings, sexual wellness and education, all types of different things. And when we very first got started, me and my business partner, Sam, she poured 2 candles for us to have lit when we would be working on things via Zoom or whatever platform we were using. So this used to have a candle in it, and now I drink from it. Okay, so let's get back to the topic at hand, the idea of the memory that is held inside of water. Earlier this week, I saw a post from a woman. Her name is Sophie Strand. She is, I believe, I didn't actually do the research. Maybe I should have before I open my big mouth. I believe she is the daughter of Clark Strand and Perdita Fend, who co-wrote The Way of the Rose, plus many of their own individual books. Absolute magic. I cannot recommend them enough. She was talking about the concept of when a butterfly goes into its cocoon, when the caterpillar goes into its cocoon, it goes to complete liquid. Like it completely goes down to a form that its physical body has never known. And then as it transforms into the butterfly, when it emerges from the cocoon, it will remember certain plants it had visited, certain leaves it had ate as it has its caterpillar form. And if that's the case, if their body goes to complete liquid, their brain goes to complete liquid. And yet the memory of that favorite leaf, that favorite plant is still there. And I just thought that was so beautiful that we could be rendered down to a completely new state of being, of existing, and then rebirth, reemerge, reconnect with the world in a brand new way, and yet know and remember our favorite things. There's many different belief paths. There's many different concepts of what happens once we pass away. Do we are we are we like is this version of Sarah a small version, like a 10% of a gigantic soul that's experiencing life on earth? And then will I um, reconnect with the larger part of my soul once I go to the other side? That is largely what I believe. Um, some people, are welcomed into the gates of heaven, or at least that's their belief. That's what they have. But then do we reappear here down on earth? Okay. And then there's another layer to that. Not only do we reincarnate to someone else, do we reincarnate to a completely different timeline? Do we reincarnate to experience the same family? Do we have a completely different ethnic background? There's just so many what ifs. Like, I am here in the year of 2025, but if I pass away and I'm taken into the version of my gates of heaven and I decide to come back to earth, am I going to come back in 1432? Because the time that we have accepted to exist is not linear. It's linear in that 2025 is followed, um, goes into 2026, but the existence of everything, it is my heart's true belief that the existence of everything, my first breath and my last breath, is happening right now. The creation of the universe and the destruction of the universe is happening right now. It is in my heart that all timelines exist all at the same time. And if that's the case, this is where it gets really trippy. Do we remember things from our past lives because the water holds the memory? And then do we remember the memories of our lineage, our grandmothers, our grandfathers? How many? I think it's something like 18 generations back. That's hundreds, if not thousands of years of memories inside of our bodies right now in this moment. And then that got me to my next thought. Guys, this is like my crazy, where my brain jumps from one subject to another. And mostly I keep them internally, but that's not happening for these videos. If our bodies remember memories, and the theory for some people is that the waters of this world hold memories, what happens when we consume the water that is provided to us? Now, I'm speaking to you from the Dayton, Ohio area. I have never experienced, except for a quick experience, I've never traveled very much outside of the US. So I don't know the waterways as well as some might that have traveled and experienced other places. But I'm speaking to you from a woman who gets her water from a faucet that comes from a treatment facility that's provided by the city, right? That water is no longer wild. It's stagnant. It's it's unmoving, right? So it feels like I'm consuming dead water, unvibrating water, un or non-joyous water, because it came from a holding tank after it was treated. And the only movement it experiences is when I turn on the water and I allow it to flow into my cup, into the vessel that I'm using. And yet our ancestors experienced the ability to be able to walk out to waterways with fresh, flowing, clear water and consume it. And so they were directly consuming what mama was offering to us. And yeah, I put my water in my kettle, and my kettle bounced around and it got it moving, and it made it dance. But it's not the same dance as the waterways rushing over rock and through rivers and possible oceans and waves, and the sweet water that releases from the clouds that comes down to the earth to nourish her and to then join in again with those water waves. And so my thought, how do we reawaken the water. And for some of us, unfortunately, we have to think about what's accessible to us, right? We might not be able to reawaken the water that's coming from our faucet in different ways. There's some practices where people use crystals, and you want to make sure if you ever look into this, please, please, please make sure it is non-water soluble. There are certain crystals that will dissolve in water, and it is not good for you to consume that. And some of them dissolve in such a way where they have pokies, and that can get into your body, and that would not be good. So please use a non-water soluble crystal if you choose to do these things. But how do we reawaken the water? I can, make it dance in my kettle. But is it really alive as it enters my body through my drink? But what I can control, what I can encourage myself to do is reawaken my body through dance, through movement. It doesn't have to be dance, through movement. But dance is a really fun way to do it, isn't it? A lot has gone into the research, and I encourage you to look into it because there's just so much behind it. It's amazing and it's heartbreaking at the same time because a lot of the times when we look at what's passed down lineage wise, we are looking into the trauma and understanding the trauma that lives inside of our body that doesn't belong to us, that we have to heal because that's what we've been charged with to do in this lifetime. Um, should you choose to take that challenge. Um, but we also got our ancestors' joy. And our ancestors lived in a time prior to the radio, prior to electricity, prior to all of these modern conveniences. Of course, some of them experienced some of them. Um, but what did they do to bring joy to their body? And can you feel that joy inside of ours? And I'm going to go back to the idea of dance. Our ancient communities, when they got together for celebration. And it could have been any myriad of reasons. My understanding of my lineage is more focused on earth-based celebrations such as the equinoxes and the solstices and things like that, because that's where my lineage mostly hails from the Celtic regions. And they got together every 6 to 8 weeks, and they shared their crafts. Like, they would be crafting in this time. Yes, they would be working to make sure that there was food and there was shelter, but they would also be crafting. So they would share the joy in the crafting, and they would exchange with one another, would barter and trade. And they cooked together, and they danced together, and they sang together, and they made love together. They did all of these things that still lives inside of our DNA. We have become much more, we're so far in each other's lives these days, and yet we're so separated because at least through the American experience, we were sold the idea of the nuclear family, right? This individuality, and individuality is beautiful and it's wonderful and it's needed, and also community is needed. So what my question for you, after all of that rambling, after all of that popping around of thoughts in my head, my question to you is, can you sit with your body and your heart and your mind and imagine the lifetime of your grands, whatever that grand is? It could be a great aunt that calls to your soul, uh, ancestors that you may not even know, but you do research so you know a little bit about your lineage. Can you sit with that and feel in your body where they felt their joy? Because they could not have survived without a little bit of joy. There was a lot of struggle, there was a lot of hard work, but there was absolute joy somewhere. Was that joy in the movement of their body and the singing? Did they play an instrument? Was there joy and watching the rising sun every day, or the setting sun, or the flowers growing, or their hands deep inside the earth as they tended to the roots, the vegetables, the tomatoes that would nourish not only their body but their family's body. Where was their joy? And where's that memory living inside of their body that now lives inside of your body? Where is that joy? It's inside the blood, it's inside the water, it's inside of you. So I'm going to leave you today with a writing from the book The Serpent and the Wave, a guide to movement meditation. This is a really simplistic, beautiful guide. And I believe her name is Jayla Boehm. That's a good one. And it's simply the introduction. Sometimes I look through for inspiration for passages, and I'm looking far and deep into the book, and then I just find it right there at the beginning. And how beautiful is that? So I offer to you the introductive poem by Rumi. Dance when you're broken open. Dance if you've torn the bandage off. Dance in the middle of fighting. Dance in your blood. Dance when you're perfectly free. Struck. The dancers hear a tambourine inside them as waves turn to foam on its very top. Begin. Maybe you don't hear that tambourine or the tree leaves clapping time. Close the ears on your head that listen mostly to lies and cynical jokes. There are other things to hear and see. Dance music and a brilliant city inside the soul. I hope to see you next time. If you feel called, please let me know what ancestors you're bringing to the table or what thoughts and feelings this brought up. I'll see you next time. Bye.